Dear residents and voters of Holland-Bukit Timah, very good evening. We have come to the final night of the campaign, and on this evening, I wish to renew my commitment to our residents. You are the reason why I and my teammates are here. You are the reason why we press on. For the last 4.5 years, I have put my heart and soul into serving our community. And I can say that I have never had a more absorbing job. Over the course of more than 250 estate visits, I have knocked on more than 10,000 doors. I have held our residents' hands when they were ill or when there were bereavements in the family, and I've also celebrated with them during happy times. Why do we do this? Because I believe in making our community a caring home, and I believe that a team of committed and effective MPs can make it happen. This is part of what makes Singapore special. Yes, MPs can debate and take part in lawmaking in Parliament, but politics in Singapore can be and should be about doing more. It is not just about making speeches and election promises. The GE campaign lasts only 9 days, but year in, year out, we build community spirit, we look out for the disadvantaged, support those in need, and fight on the side of each and every resident who approaches us with a genuine problem or grievance. The work we do might not attract the glare of the limelight, but it is my passion. We don't just talk about compassion. We take compassion and care and translate it into concrete action. How do we do this? Let me give you some examples. A couple of years ago, some of the residents who were planting on state land near Clementi Avenue 4 found themselves being evicted by the SLA. Why is that so? Well, you're not supposed to plant on state land without permission, and there were complaints by residents nearby that there was burning of leaves and debris and also smoke hazard. So the authorities gave the order and the planters, the farmers, were asked to leave. Now this could have been the end of the story, but my team and I felt that it didn't have to be this way. We heard out the farmers and we understood that they just want to have a place to farm. We also heard out those who had concerns about burning, about smoke, about haze, and we also heard out the concerns of the authorities who wanted things to be orderly. So we realized that if we went law by law, no one will win in this situation. But at the same time, we understood the constraints that all the different parties were facing. So we decided as the community, let's step in. Let's apply to the authorities for the land. Let's make it into an official temporary garden, equal plots, clear rules, proper water supply, help everyone fulfill their dream. I think this is one example where in the community there are opportunities for us to translate our compassion into action, but to do so we must take the lead. We must coordinate and we must be prepared to hear everybody out. I'll give you another example of how we translate compassion into concrete action. I once met a resident. He was in deep trouble. He was a shy and quiet man, and he came to me because his colleague made him come. Why was he in trouble? because he was being investigated by the police for his involvement in loan shark activities. Now, this is a very serious case, and I asked him, what did you do? He said that he allowed loan sharks to use his bank account for fund transfers, and the police have evidence of this. So I think those of you who know a bit about such issues, you will know that it's a very serious offense. And I wondered, how on earth could I help him? He wanted to avoid going to jail. He was very fearful of going to jail. So we sat down and we talked. And even though he was very shy, slowly he opened up. And as he spoke with me, it became clear to me that he was someone who was genuinely unaware of the dangers of associating with loan sharks. What happened was, he wanted to borrow some money to purchase an item for his mother, for his elderly mother. And he saw an SMS offering him low interest, offering him quick money. He took up the offer without realizing that it was an illegal loan shark, couldn't pay the interest, and then the loan shark forced him to let them use his bank account for bank transfers. And I think you know the rest. We hear many of these stories in the neighborhood. He became embroiled in a web of crime. The police were after him, and the loan sharks were also after him because he still hadn't paid off his original loan. His colleague found out about his predicament by chance and made him visit my office. And by the time we met, this gentleman was so distraught that he was thinking of committing suicide. What did we do? We appealed to the police to consider the reasons in his defense, even though this gentleman was feeling so rattled that he couldn't speak up for himself clearly in front of the police. We also connected him with counseling services and also arranged for a befriender to watch over him so that he doesn't harm himself. After a tense couple of weeks, very fortunately, the police considered our appeal and decided not to prosecute him. And now this gentleman is also free of loan shark harassment. And every time I see him in the community, he waves at me and he's calm and happy. Sometimes people do fall into trouble, and sometimes they can't speak up for themselves, and this is where we can come in. We champion compassion and flexibility, even if it's under very difficult circumstances and even if it's within the scope of well-established rules and laws. So here's an example of how we translate compassion into real action. But that's not all. That's not all. Our residents have a lot of compassion. Our residents have a lot of good ideas. We as MPs very often helm feedback sessions, like the ones we did during the Our Singapore conversation. We also helm and organize dialogue sessions to gather feedback and inputs that go into policy making. We heard our residents' concerns about healthcare costs, especially when they are of an older age. And this is the reason why the government made MediShield Life, which is coming in November. We heard our residents' concerns about having more pathways for success, about equipping the next generation with the skills to face competition in the world. And this is the reason why we have Skills Future. We heard our residents' concerns about cost of living and about helping those who have less, and this is the reason why the government is expanding the social safety nets, why we're giving out more housing grants, GST vouchers, special employment credits, and much, much more. So being a conduit so that our ideas and our concerns can be heard, this is another way in which we translate compassion into action. We also bring together those who care and who want to help, and we match them with those who need help. We did one project like that very recently in Bukit Timah. We call it the Elder Care Project. On the one hand, we have elderly living alone at home, very concerned about what will happen to them if they fall or if they meet a medical emergency and can't call for help in time. On the other hand, we do know of local SMEs who have got the technology to help monitor the movements of elderly at home. And on the other hand, we also found a corporate donor who wanted to donate to a worthy cause and to do something in support of our aging society. So what we did was we put all these parties together. We also brought in a healthcare partner so that they can do assessments for the elderly at home, reduce their fall risks. And this bringing together of different parties, this weaving together of different needs and concerns, this is another way in which we translate our compassion into concrete action. Of course, we also plan ahead at the local level, make our homes even better. We have brought the Neighborhood Renewal Program to To'i and the Home Improvement Program and lift upgrading to our residents at Clementi Avenue 6, not to mention other forms of repairs and redecoration elsewhere in our division. We have successfully applied for estate upgrading program in the Totak estate, and I look forward to upgrading more of our older private estates as well. We are looking forward to the new rail corridor. We hope to introduce a new youth services center in Bukit Timah to complement services we already have for older residents, and we plan to expand childcare provision. Dear residents, the PAP sees MPs as much more than voices in Parliament. We are also a listening ear, a shoulder to lean on, and someone who lends a helping hand and get you back on your feet with dignity. This is part of what keeps our politics special, and this is what keeps Singapore special. Of course, the MPs cannot do it alone. We are supported by hundreds, literally hundreds of volunteers who also believe in this vision. Our volunteers write letters, organize activities, befriend those in need. Many of our volunteers are here tonight, and many of our residents have benefited from our volunteers and also told us that you want to volunteer and join us. I want to thank all of you for your dedicated service. Ladies and gentlemen, on the 11th of September, let us vote to keep Holland-Bukit Timah special, and let us vote to keep Singapore special. Majulah Singapura! 亲爱的荷兰五级芝麻的选民和居民朋友们，大家晚上好。对于人民行动党，一个议员不单单是国会里面的一把声音，一个议员他还要改善社区设施，帮助在人生路上一时跌倒的居民，而且时常还得为大家排忧解难。作为人民行动党在荷兰五级芝麻的团队，我们都非常珍惜和居民之间建立起来的宝贵友谊。我们相信居民们给予我们很大的委托，我们呢也必须报以最大的努力。和大家一路走来，不可或缺的是我们许许多多基层义工的贡献。他们很多呢都在今天这个大操场上。我们的义工不辞劳苦，他们在放工时间过后，或者是和家人相聚之余，拨出他们自己宝贵的时间来帮助我们的居民，替我们的居民解决问题，或者替我们的居民组织各类的活动，让我们的社区变得更加有凝聚力，也让我们更加的有方向感。所以呢，在这个时刻，我要非常郑重的感谢 我们所有的基层义工们，你们辛苦了。我也要感谢那些从居民变成义工，继续为社会奉献的所有的女士们、先生们。我们的居民，我们的义工，是为什么我们会站在这里？这是为什么我们希望能够继续为大家服务。希望大家在投票日当天继续的支持我们，让我们继续的把荷兰5级之马打造成更美好的家园。谢谢大家，晚安。